the biggest IPO of our times. It's Hyundai that opens for subscription today. It had a significant response to its anchor book yesterday with some very important marquee names subscribing to Hyundai's IPO that opened today. Tarun Garg, COO of Hyundai Motor India, now joins in to talk to us about the outlook for the company and the excitement around it. Hi Tarun, congratulations. It's a big day, and I guess there's a bigger day around the corner when you actually list on the exchanges. But before we start, please tell me, how do you pronounce Hyundai?
It's actually Hyundai.
So we go with Hyundai?
Yes.
Okay,
Hyundai.
great. This makes life a whole lot easier. We've been debating this over the last few days, and yeah. So you've been a household name, even though I've never called it Hyundai. For 28 years is when you launched in India. You are Indianizing this as you list on the exchanges and let retail investors participate in this phenomenal story that you've got going for you. You want to tell us what this IPO will mean for the company, for the Indian arm, and the outlook for you and the company?
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. And as you know that over the past 26 plus years, we have really done very well. We are the second largest player in the passenger vehicle space in India. And we believe now the time is just about right to take the second phase of our growth story, because this IPO will give opportunity to the local investors as well as global investors to be a part of this growth story. Also help us to really pursue global standards in terms of operations, excellence, governance. So I believe this is just about the right time. And we are very happy to see yesterday's anchor response, especially from the local mutual funds. If you see, 21 mutual funds across 83 schemes contributing to 34.4% of the total anchor allocation. We have response from the pension funds in India. We have response from the insurance companies as well. So I think all in all, it is very, very satisfactory day yesterday. And we believe that, yes, like I said, this is very, very good for us in terms of further Indianizing our operations.
Indeed. In fact, I think the numbers that we saw yesterday and the subscribers to the anchor book was rather phenomenal. And it wasn't just big marquee global names, but also some very important domestic fund houses that have subscribed to your anchor book. Now let's talk business. And I want to understand from you, Tarun, how does business on ground change for you once you become a listed entity? While I know retail investors can now participate in the story, does it impact business? Because I know you're sitting on a healthy cash balance on your books. I do understand this is an OFS, but let's talk about what it does for the India business.
Look, India is a very, very important market. Of course, if you see, we are already the fifth biggest economy in terms of Hyundai Motor company. It is the third biggest market for us behind US and Korea. So the Indian operations are very important. Today, we are sitting on a capacity of 8,24,000, but 250,000 capacity kicks in with the addition of the Pune plant. So this is one very big thing, because 30% capacity addition would mean a lot of headroom for us to increase both our domestic as well as export volumes. The other big thing which is happening is the electrification. So, currently we have, of course, the Ioniq 5, which is a benchmark in EVs. At the same time, we like to really compete in the high volume space. Creta is a very strong brand for us. And which better model than Creta to really make an entry into the high volume EV space. So Creta EV is going to come in the next quarter, followed by 3 more EVs in the midterm. And not only that, actually these EVs are being backed by very strong localization. So as we speak today, Samina, the battery packs are being localized. We have already announced the localization of the LFP cell manufacturing with the Indian partner. We are looking at drivetrain and power electronics as well. So the entire EV supply chain, we are targeting to localize. Then we're also investing in the charging infrastructure. So we believe this is a new space opening up for us, which will help us to really increase volumes as well as market share. So I think this is very good. Of course, in terms of, especially for IPO, the communication now will be much more. I think we will talk to you much more. We'll talk to the investors much more, the quarterly calls. So which would mean that we will really even further pursue global standards in terms of operations, excellence, governance, which is very good. I think this is a great opportunity for our organization, HMI, for all our employees to really even take the ante up and raise the bar even up. Of course, we have done very well, if I may say, over the past 26 years, but I think we can only go improve from here even more.
Right, Tarun, morning. This is Agam here. we want to talk about the SUV segment, right? Because that's essentially largely the segment which has actually driven volumes for the entire sector as a whole. And Hyundai has, of course, been a key contributor to, well, leading those volumes coming in. You spoke about the Creta, briefly right now. My question then is that, firstly, how have you differentiated yourself with respect to other competitors in this market? And secondly, do you feel that the new entry-level segment will further propel sales for not just for you, but the industry as a whole?
So look, if you see, when we launched the Creta in 2015, SUVs used to contribute only 13% to the overall sales. And Creta changed it all. Today, TIV SUVs are contributing 52%. For Hyundai, SUVs are contributing 67%. You said, how do we differentiate? We differentiate by giving respect to India. We differentiate by really raising the bar up. You saw the facelift of the Creta, which was launched in January, and it has received some great response. Creta is now in the top 3 brands across categories for India, and of course the segment leader in the mid SUV segment. So Alcazar facelift was launched last month to some great response. Last year we launched the Exter, again some great response. We continuously do innovations as well. Like last 2 months back we introduced dual cylinder CNG in Exter, which is again giving some great response. So I think the whole idea is to really raise the bar up. I'll give you one very good example, ADAS. So we saw all these highways coming up in India where the high speeds were going up. We started with one model, and today 8 out of 13 models in our portfolio have a feature of ADAS, and which is really lapped up by the customers because the penetration in these 8 models has reached 29%. So you can see it is all about introducing new features, introducing new technologies, and going up with this new Bharat, which is so aspirational and basically does not want to compromise on the products in terms of technology, features, design, everything. So I think Hyundai is really well placed for that because we have a very strong parent, which is the 3rd biggest OEM now in the world. The parent has all kinds of technologies, not only battery electric vehicles, but plug-in hybrids, strong hybrids, CNG, petrol, diesel, even hydrogen. So I think HMI is very well placed to take care of the future. And of course, our new plant, which kicks in next year, will add about 30% to our capacity in both phases put together. So I think this will really give us opportunity to not only increase the domestic volumes, but also the export volumes.
Right, Tarun, I also want your view on the kind of markets that Ioniq as well as Kona address at the moment, your plans as well as going forward and the opportunities that you see here.
So look, if you see when we launched the Kona in 2019 as a full-fledged SUV electric with a range of 450 kilometers, SUVs were only being talked about at that time. So Kona helped us to really understand the customer. What is this EV customer? What are his? How does he behave? Of course, Ioniq 5 was a benchmark creator, and we have got some great positioning in the mind of the customer. Then the learnings were that although 85% of the customers are charging at home or office, however, they were reluctant to really take their cars on the highways. So we made it a plan to really look at providing some fast charging stations at the prominent highways in India and some prominent locations. So we already have 15 in place. We have a very strong plan for that. Along with a local Indian player, we are going to have fast chargers at our dealerships. With Tamil Nadu government also, we are going to have 100 fast charging stations. So I think the entire ecosystem for EV is being built, like I said, a localization, the charging infrastructure, 4 products, and which will help us to position the EVs. And now that we know the customer, to really market them well and increase our volumes also.
Tarun, just to keep the focus on business, and you've maintained very healthy margins, and I think that's a standout for Hyundai. So Hyundai, for now at least. But going ahead, how do you plan to manage rising input costs, particularly with supply chain challenges, fluctuating forex exchange rates, etc.? Because I do know your key spare parts do come in from the parent company.
If you see, the one very important thing about Hyundai's philosophy has been the quality of growth. So if you see, we have really taken it together, whether it's volume, market share as well as profitability. So we have a very strong cost structure in place where we optimize costs through value engineering, through various other initiatives. On foreign exchange, one very good thing is right from the time we set foot in India, we have focused big time on exports. Dollar is strong, which is actually positive because we are dollar positive in terms of our exports being more than the imports. So that is a positive news. The new capacity is coming in, of course, which will kick in 250,000 capacity in due course, 170,000 of which will come in S2 of next year itself. As regards EBITDA margins, we finished last year with 13.1% EBITDA margin. Even quarter one of financial year 25, the good performance continued. As we have mentioned in our RHP, the EBITDA margin rose to 13.5%. So I think premiumization, featureization, SUVization, which is now at 67%, cost optimization, the plant capacity which is coming in, all these factors have helped us to really, really stay ahead of the curve and grow along with profits, along with our dealer network, a very solid network both in the rural and the urban areas, and of course a great product lineup that we have, which is not only dependent on SUVs. Of course, SUVs are big in terms of 67% contribution, but we have hatches, we have sedans. In fact, last year we launched the full model change of the Verna, which received a great response, in the Nios i20. So I think those marquee brands really help us to give all kind of solutions to the customers. Because one very critical part about India is that India is such a big country and every state also behaves differently. Today we offer different type of powertrains also to various customers. Like for example, in UP or in Maharashtra, CNG is very popular. Whereas in Telangana or Andhra Pradesh or Punjab, diesel is very popular. In Delhi, petrol is popular, very popular. So I think we have all kinds of powertrains, and that really helps us to target all the states very well.
Tarun, while I know we'll be very excited to talk to you when you start reporting on earnings publicly from next quarter, this might be a question that's far out and you can choose to answer it for me the way you like it. But once you become a listed company, there will be a dividend policy post the IPO, right? And this becomes your job more important than anybody else's. How do you balance shareholder returns with reinvestment for growth?
No, absolutely. And in fact, if you see, we have a very good track record of cash conversion, the internal accruals, and we believe the capex, which we have announced, 32,000 crores over the next 8 to 10 years, we will generate enough capital to take care of it through our internal accruals. Regarding the dividend policy, yes. Once the financial year 25 is over, we'll announce our new dividend policy, which will take into account the returns, the cash position, the capex requirements. But most importantly, we like to benchmark with the industry best practices and really look at the shareholders' return very, very importantly.
All right. Well, Tarun, on that note, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and taking us through, well, the plans that Hyundai India has for the nation, of course, the entire sector. And we also look forward to the listing of the IPO, or whenever soon happens next.